Alright guys, so loaded the bike up and headed down the road for this afternoon. We have a high of 68 degrees today and it is June 23rd, which is unheard of here in Western Maryland. I just got the bike hidden down in here off the access trail as far as I could, and I'm headed across this swamp to the other side of it where I found a really heavy cruising trail this winter. I stuck a camera up and a branch fell in front of it, sadly, and I'm not really worried about being in here this time of year because like I said, it's June 23rd. That is a cruising trail that I found on the other side of this bedding area in this swamp, and I don't plan on hunting it until the rut, so I'm not worried about being in here this time of year. I'm gonna go in here, move that branch out of the way of the camera, and actually hang a whole separate camera. Got some really good bucks on camera already. Some bucks that have some potential, and a buck that has already got enough on his head that I would shoot him. And like I said, it's June 23rd, but the last picture I got of him, I believe, was June 15th, I think, or 13th, something like that. I'm really curious to see what he puts on over the next 2 months, and really excited to see what we run into in a couple different areas throughout September and October, and then obviously this area as we move our way into the pre-rut and into the rut. I'm gonna ease my way across this bedding area here and swap these cameras out and show you guys what I got going on. So before I head into this thick timber here behind me, I'll show you guys right here, all this thick stuff that I just walked through, this big swampy area. It is completely loaded with beds. Most of that bedding looked like group bedding, like it was probably doe bedding. And then on the north side of it, which would be with a south wind, a buck would cruise this. It was a heavy beat down trail. It was wide open, like bucks had walked through there with big racks and knocked everything down. And there were some pretty big rubs on that cruising trail. Over this way, about another 60 yards or so, there's another really big swamp. So there's just this little 60-yard wide section of woods with all this heavy sign coming right through it, between bedding on both sides. So really I could hunt it on either wind. If I get up high enough in any of these trees, my scent will blow over top of these trails and into the next swamp, being that it's only 60 yards wide. So I'm hoping that's the case. I'm gonna come in here and hunt it for the first time this year, and hopefully those bucks, same bucks from last year, are in here, even bigger than they were last year, and we can get a shot at one. So this area that I'm headed to now is actually an area that I killed a really nice buck last year. He was a good ways away from here, but on the same property, and this property is not that big. I have had an encounter with a really nice buck the past 2 years. I'm hoping he's still alive. I'll be in that area early this season. Found a really big scrape at the head of this ditch. It's basically just like a funnel for the deer. There's a really thick power line on one side. It's about 100-yard wide section of woods, and there's real thick bedding on one side, real thick bedding on the other, up on top of a ridge. Real big rubs coming off of that ridge side and down into that ditch, and right at the head of that waterway in that ditch, there's that huge scrape. Alright guys, so I'm down in this creek bottom now. Basically what I have going on, I kicked up some dirt in this scrape here, but this past winter, this scrape was open. It was huge. There's a bunch of grass growing up in it now, but I'm sure they're using this scrape year round. This area sets up perfect for bedding. There's a big ridge behind me, has a bunch of rubs coming off it, bunch of big oaks back in here. And then I'm noticing right over here, there's a bunch of mile-a-minute weed popping up all through this whole creek bottom. And they hammer that stuff in early season, so they have an early season food source, a later in the fall food source right in here. I'm starting to think that maybe this scrape isn't just cruising back and forth between that bedding and this bedding, but maybe even sign coming out of that bedding, heading toward this mile-a-minute weed and up into those oaks. So hung a cell cam on a tree right here behind me, and it's aimed right at this scrape, right down at all this mile-a-minute weed, and shouldn't take but about a couple months to figure out what's going on in here. So I'm excited to see what happens this fall and see what kind of velvet bucks we get here in the coming weeks. And July is always an exciting time for velvet buck pictures. They show themselves big time in July and August, so really excited to see what happens, and good luck to all you guys out there. And